Hey everyone, so today I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to do this. Really cool, really cool. So we're going to do this ground cracks on the ground followed by a sinkhole. And we're just going to do this effects in After Effects, so we're not going to touch any 3D software to create the sinkhole, which I'm sure you're probably wondering how are we going to do that. Well, we're going to do that thanks to ActionVFX. They are kind enough to reach out to me and hook me up with these amazing assets for this tutorial. ActionVFX is a website that provides high-quality, industry-standard visual effects assets for your visual effects needs. They have explosions, fire, blood, debris, and many others really great assets, all in high definition. And the best part about them is that their assets are tailored for visual effects artists. So many of their assets are provided from multiple camera angles and rendered in EXR multi-layers, so they can be pretty much used in any kind of visual effects works. It's amazing. They're having a 50% off for Black Friday sale right now, so check them out. The link is in the description. And once again, ActionVFX, thank you for providing me with the footage. And let's go back to the tutorial. So first, let me break down what's happening here. As you can see, I have my footage, and then I have this ground cracks that are from ActionVFX. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then I also have like debris shooting up. That is also an asset from ActionVFX. And then I have my footage, of course, that I shot here. Of course, what we're going to do is we are going to 3D track this in After Effects, and then we're going to use that 3D track data to lay out our cracks here and then our sinkhole. And not only that, we will learn how to composite the ActionVFX stuff. We're also going to learn stuff about 3D workflow in After Effects. One of them is how to convert a 3D track data into a 2D track data, which would be very cool. So yeah, let's begin our tutorial. So first thing first, we need to 3D track the scene. So let's go to Effects and Preset and type 3D camera tracker and put it in there. Oop. Now we are going to wait until the analyze is over, and after that we are going to have our 3D track. So after you are done tracking, what we're going to do is we are going to place basically locators inside the scene, and we need 2 locators, which is locator for the cracks, which is from around here, and then we are going to need a locator from around here, which is for the sinkhole. So first, for the cracks, because we want to begin from here, like like the crack going here, and then there's animating towards the left of the camera. So let's find basically a plane, or like basically a place where we want to put this the cracks. Let's find the one with the correct perspective, which is this one. So this one, the circle is flat, just like the ground. So what we're going to do is we are going to create solid and camera. Let's see if it sticks correctly. Yep, looks great. Looks great. So we are going to put like the crack, like the narrow one in here, and then it will lead towards the sinkhole. So we need to decide where we want to put the sinkhole. What we can do is we can just bring the footage into the scene and then basically block it out, and then from here we can decide where to put our locators. So let's bring this one. This is the MOV file of the ActionVFX that I have, and then let's scale it down maybe like 20. Yeah, and then let's rotate it like maybe -2. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, around here. Around here is good. Around here is good. So this is just for the blocking. So what we're going to do is we're going to do to the tracker again, and we are going to select a point here that is close. Instead of using solid, we are going to just create null. And I will explain why later. Basically, what we're going to do is create null. So now we have a null there. So here's what's going to happen. Let's just delete this. For the crack, what we're going to do like the crack around here, is we are going to use the 3D. Basically, we are going to bring in the 3D, the footage of the crack and then turn it 3D. And then we would copy the position, location, rotation, and scale of this into that crack. Whereas for the sinkhole, we are going to just use the 2D footage. I mean, like the 2D layers. So we don't need to turn it into 3D. So we are going to need, for later, we are going to transform this null, which let's rename it 3D null. And we are going to turn this 3D null into a 2D null. But let's worry about that later. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to put down the crack and then the sinkhole later. So let's bring our cracks. So let's see, I'm going to first bring this narrow crack one side beauty. The reason why I picked the side is because it's, like I mentioned, ActionVFX provides all this visual effects footage in high quality and also in multiple angles, like multiple perspective. So the perspective from the side is matching very closely to basically the perspective of the camera right now. So what we're going to do now is we are going to turn this into a 3D layer. Now, whoop, now it's moving very weirdly, but it's okay. What we're going to do next is we're going to copy the position of this solid and copy paste it into the crack footage. So what we're going to do is we're going to press P and then Shift A S R, so we have all the transform information there, and just copy everything. You can just copy. You can copy the anchor point or not. It's up to you. And let's also copy the anchor point. Okay, and maybe move it. Oh, sorry. Let's bring this one A S E R. So now we have this, and let's disable solid. And now we are going to scale it up. And now we just need to position it. Okay, so this is around where I want the crack to be. So what I did, I just moved it around, rotate it, and so what you want to do is, of course, make sure the crack would end up to where the sinkhole would be, which is represented by this 3D node that we created. So we want the crack to be leading up towards that. And then what I did is also I rotated on the x-axis for the crack because the perspective of the crack is from the side. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to add more cracks. Of course, what you can do is we can basically just do the same thing. Just use the track solid and copy the positions, or if you want to create another solid, you can just do that. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so now we have these two cracks leading up towards the sinkhole, which should be around here. And basically what I did for this one is I created a solid that is around here, and then I just copy paste the position, basically the same way. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to basically set the timing for this, and also the composition. So I'm going to control the timing for a second. So let's just have this one basically already finished before this one finished. So let's move it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate this so we have two cracks. Okay, so now we have this crack, which is I froze at the last frame. So it looks like, it's already finished. So it looks like a longer crack than it's supposed to be. So this crack is already finished, and then we have the continuation here. So now what we're going to do is we are going to composite it into the footage more, of course, to look at more correct, because currently we have this gray thing surrounding the cracks. So how are we going to composite this? Well, in ActionVFX, you might download the EXR file, and the EXR file have object ID pass, and the object ID pass may provide you with basically just an ID pass for the cracks. But if you don't have the EXR file, that is fine. What I'm going to show you is a bit hacky way of getting the cracks, but it works. It's very simple, but it works. So what we're going to do is we are going to pre-comp all the cracks individually. So this one. Okay, so now everything is pre-comp. So what we're going to do is we are going to go inside each of this pre-comp, and basically we are going to get rid of the ground. So now we're here. What we're going to do is we are going to duplicate the footage, and then we are going to go get tint, because basically what we're gonna do is we are going to exploit the contrast, because as you can see here, thankfully ActionVFX rendered this footage with a very clear contrast. What we're going to do is we are going to exploit that. We are going to crank up the contrast and then use that as a map. So what we're going to do is we are going to get curve here. Okay, so I guess this looks cool. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this as luma matte. So toggle luma matte. Boom. So now what we're going to see here is just the ground. Sorry, it's just the crack. So now let's copy this method into the other cracks also. So copy this color correction. Okay, so let's play this. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so the crack is all actually almost done. We can add like a bit of a blur, or maybe color correct it a bit, but we're going to do that later. Next, actually, what we're going to do next is we want to make the crack a bit, add more variant, because this time it's a bit too straight. So what we're going to do is we are going to use turbulent displace. Let's add there. So we're going to add like a bit swirl into this. Let's reduce the amount to like around 5, actually 15, and then increase the noise size and maybe like 10. Okay, and then copy the turbulent displace into this one, and then let's make it a bit different. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess that works. Yeah, okay. So let's play this again. Okay, cool. As you noticed, my video quality may be like a bit down. That what I did is basically I reduced the resolution into a third resolution, so that way I can work faster. But there's a bit of a quality compromise, but that's okay. At the end, we're going to turn this back into full, and we are going to see the scene rendered in full glory. So now what we're going to do, now that we have the cracks, what we're going to do is we are going to add finally the sinkhole. So for the sinkhole, what we're going to do is we are going to bring our sinkhole footage again. I'm going to use this one. And as you can see here, I have the MOV and the EXR file. And basically, the MOV file is in 2K, so it's smaller resolution. That way I can work with it faster. Okay, so we have this, and what we do the same thing we did, which is position it. Yep, okay. So next, what we're going to do is, like I mentioned, I'm going to turn this 3D null into a 2D, so that way I can finally parent this footage into that 2D null. In this current state, this footage cannot be parented into the 3D null because one is 2D, one is 3D. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a new null layer, new null. Okay, so this is 3D null, this is 2D null. Let's rename that 2D null. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to press P to bring up the position, and then we are going to alt click to bring an expression. And the expression that we're going to do is this, which is, I'm going to show you in the description. So by copying that, what happens is that we have P equal to thisComp.layer, and this 3D null is the name of your 3D null, which in this case is 3D null. So what's going to happen is basically it creates a variable where P equals to the transformation of this 3D null. And then in here, we're basically telling, okay, we're using the transformation data of the 3D null of the anchor point and then turn it into the position for the 2D null. So now if we click this, boom, it sticks. So now what we can do is we are going to parent our crack into the null. So if we play, very nice, very nice. Of course, at the beginning here, you can see there's a bit something off with the rotation, but that's okay because we don't want the sinkhole to actually begin that early anyway. So let's disable this. We want basically, let's see. Let's retime it again. Boom, look at that. Oh, looks nice, isn't it? Looks great. So now what we're going to do is, of course, to composite the sinkhole into the footage to make it look correct, and then we're done. After that, we're done. Okay, so let's comp this sinkhole. So first, let's change it back to normal, and so let's pre-comp it. So Control-C, and let's make this sinkhole name. And we want to basically leave all the attributes here. So that way we have this footage intact inside the pre-comp. So whereas the pre-comp is, because in the pre-comp I already add like the scale, position, rotation by leaving all the attributes there. We have the footage here inside the pre-comp intact. So what we're going to do is we want to get rid of the ground, the gray ground thing here. But we could try using the contrast method that I use for the correct, but that would not work. That would not work. Why? Because this one is a bit more the contrast a bit more subtle because we have like other color here, like the insides of the ground here, and like when the ground falling down, it gets a bit darker. So we cannot use the contrast. But what we can use is we are going to use an object ID pass that the ActionVFX provides with this footage. So the problem is I'm using the 2K footage, the 2K the 2K MOV footage, whereas the object ID can only be found in the EXR file. So thankfully, thanks to ActionVFX providing me with this footage, I have the EXR file. So we bring the EXR file here, and the EXR file is really big, which is why I'm using the 2K one because it's faster for my computer. So what we're going to do is for the EXR file, we want to scale it down. So transform fit to comp. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to extract an object ID pass. So the thing about EXR is called a multi-layer file, and inside the file is multiple type of layers embedded in it. So we are going to extract that using extractor, which is a tool to extract the object ID out of EXR or the other passes. So let's extract that. Boom! So we have the object ID pass. So what we're going to do, let's disable that. What we're going to do is we just want to basically, we want to get rid of the gray, but we want to save basically the insides of the ground. So the ID that represents that is the green one, the green ID. So what we're going to do is we are going to map basically we want to alpha map it to the green. So we need to turn the green into an alpha. So shift channels, bring it here, and take alpha from green. Boom. And then we are going to track map alpha map. Look at that. So when we go back to the main comp now, boom, look at that. Look at that. Looks great. So now what we need to do next is to basically put the inside of the ground, right? Because currently it still look empty, but you know, we get rid of the gray, but now basically we need to fill this inside. So we can do that by creating new composition. So what we're going to do is we are going to find our sinkhole comp and we are going to duplicate it. So Control G. So now we have two sinkhole main, and this one we are going to rename it inside hole, because what we're going to do is, where is the inside hole? Okay, so we're going to go inside and we are going to fill, we are going to actually basically fill the inside of the hole when it's open up. See, when it open up, we need to fill this in with like a ground texture or something like that. Yeah. So what we're going to do is basically the reason why I duplicate the sinkhole main is that because the way to do it is very similar. The only difference is this time we are going to take the alpha from red, because what we're going to do is we actually going to basically get the reverse of what we had earlier. So change this to red. Now we have this. Actually, yeah, actually, let's just not track matte at all. We just want this red like this. Okay. So actually we can just delete this. And then we are going to create a new solid, layer new solid. And let's name this edge. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to basically fill in this black edges. Now what we're going to do is we want to pre-comp these two. So what we're going to do is we are going to use this as an alpha. So what we're going to do is select those two and Control Shift C, and let's name this alpha hole. Okay, and so if we look at the alpha channel, you see it's all like this. So RGB again. Then we are going to bring a ground texture footage. Of course, you can get this ground texture footage anywhere from Google. There's a lot of really good stuff. I'm going to link you to the website where I get this. So let's now what we're going to do is we are going to alpha inverted map. Boom. So we have this. Whoop. Let's block this guy, so we will not touch that. Okay, so what we're going to do is maybe scale it down a bit, basically make it look like the ground inside the layer. I mean the hole. Then let's add an adjustment layer so we can add color in it, put it on the top. And now we have this. So what we're going to do is we are going to our main comp. And then we are going to get our inside hole comp. Bada bing, bada boom. Where are you? Oh, what we're going to do is, let's see. There we go. Took a while to load. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make sure it has the same timing. So line up the timing with your sinkhole. So these two, let's color code it to pitch. So the timing, I'll make sure it matches. And then what we're going to do is we are going to parent the inside hole into the 2D null and then copy the position, scale, everything from the main sinkhole into the inside hole. Okay, so now we play. Okay, so look at that, looks really nice. So what I did is just I scaled the sinkhole a little bit, and then also don't forget to put the inside of the sinkhole below the sinkhole main. So the inside has to be below the sinkhole main. That way, it would look correct. And yeah, we can of course fix the color maybe later, but for now, let's deal with another problem that we have, which is if you see closer, I don't know if you can see it. It's not really visible here because of the darkness, but you can see a little bit that if we disable the inside hole, the crack, the crack that is above that is meeting in the middle of the sinkhole is still visible. So it's like floating. The crack is floating above the sinkhole. So we want to get rid of that, of course. What we're going to do is we are going to create a map here. So when the cracks open up, we basically want to get rid of this. We want to erase this, and this. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a map, and yeah, so let's do that. So let's create layer, new, solid, and let's name this whole map. Okay, let's disable that for a second. That's it. We have the size also. Okay, so now we are going to parent it to the 2D null 2. Boom. Then, so there we have it. It's now tracked. So now what we're going to do is put it below here, and we're going to basically disable this, alpha mat this hole into these cracks. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to pre-comp them. So let's select all of them and Control-Shift-C, and let's name this crack hole. So all of them in here. Boom. So now what we have, oh, look at that. Looks weird. Suddenly, because after I pre-comp it, suddenly the texture, the cracks all looking very wonky. The reason for that is that because inside the pre-comp, when we go here, it has all the 3D layers, but they don't know what to do with it because there is no camera. We have a camera in thisComp, but not inside there. So what we're gonna do is either we want to copy the camera, or we can just press this button called the collapse transformation, and it's gonna fix itself. So what's happening when I click the collapse transformation is that while the inside here still looks weird because they don't have a camera there, when it meets here, when I press collapse transform, it would link this composition to this 3D camera. So now it's gonna look like the same, basically from the same perspective. So now that all of it is inside of one layer, one composition layer, we can just use the toggle switch alpha inverted map. There we go. So let's turn on the inside wheel again. Okay. Nice. But of course we want to animate it because in this part we don't want the mat to actually appear. So let's maybe okay, so we have a problem there. So I can fix that with just set the timing limit so it only appears that when the crack is happening. And maybe like play with opacity too, so it doesn't just appear. Maybe in here we have 100%, but a few frames before we have like 25. So it goes from here to 25%, boom, 100. And so let's play this. Awesome, awesome, really good, really good, nice. Okay, so that's the main part. So now what we're going to do is just we are going to add some color correction to make it look correct. Maybe if there is something, unless I miss something. Actually, for the whole, let's animate the actual mask also. Okay, looking really nice, looking really nice. So what we're going to do is we are going to color correct it, of course. And I'm not going to show you a full color correction because color correction it's really based on the footage and based on, style. So I'm not going to show you in full how I do it. And yeah. Okay, so here's the result. I have color corrected the cracks individually, and then I added the Gaussian blur for the whole thing. So I actually for the cracks layer, composition layer, I just added like a bit of a tint, and also like let's reduce the tint like around 60%. And then the Gaussian blur I added like 0.5, and then in each individual layers I added the color correction for each of them because they are individually look different, so they need different treatment for the color correction. And actually, let's turn this back into 90%. So now what we're going to do, now we have this, is that we want to roto this. So what we're going to do is just going to duplicate the background, put it on top. Let's rename this roto or roto mask. So let's do that. Let's bring the mask, and we're only going to roto this. So let's just go here. Thankfully, the camera is not moving much, so I don't have to do a lot of animating because we need to animate this frame by frame. Okay, so it's all rotated now, and it looks fantastic. Now, the very last part is, of course, we are going to add motion blur because, as you can see here, if we pause around here, you can see the footage is blurry, but our cracks is not blurry. So we are going to add motion blur. So let's do that. What we're going to do is we are going to pre-comp everything except for the background footage and the roto. So what we're going to do is we are going to select them and Control Shift C, and let's name this VFX comp. Okay. So now the reason I pre-comp it because I want to add a CC force motion blur. Now with the CC force motion blur, as you can see, now we have motion blur, and the reason I pre-comp it because I don't want the CC force motion blur to affect the background footage. So I just want the CC force motion blur to only affect the visual effects elements. That's why I pre-comp them all together inside, and then I added the CC force motion blur in the pre-comp, and I didn't put the force motion blur in the roto because the roto is not that blurry, so we don't need to add blurriness into the roto. Except if this platform here is blurry, then I might need to add motion blur to my roto, but we're not going to do that here. So now we can just go back here. There's our visual effects stuff. But of course, you cannot, if you want to like add something and then like do editing and stuff like that, this is not helpful because we only have the visual effects, but without the, without the background footage. And so, but we cannot put the background footage in here because that means the background footage will be rendered in here, you know, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy the background footage and go inside the VFX comp. And then we are going to paste it, put it on the back. And that way, so first, if we go back here and if we solo it, so you can see the background is rendered, right? Because the background is part of the pre-comp. But we can change that into a guide layer. Boom! So now the background footage guide layer. Now if we go here, it's no longer rendered. So now it's inside, it's there. Inside the VFX comp is there, but it's not going to be rendered. It's just here as a guide, as you know, what, because that's why it's called a guide layer. So now we have this, we have this. If we want to add anything more inside here, you can just add it. And the reason why I don't want to put the motion blur inside the VFX comp, like I don't do adjustment layer, is because motion blur is very, very, very heavy. So I want here to where I can just easily add stuff. So yeah, let's play this again. Okay, so this is the shot in full glory with the motion blur, and I also added, as you can see, I added like a debris coming out of the hole. I'm using the exploding debris from ActionVFX, um, and I basically scale it down and just speed it up a little bit, and then I just put it on top of the hole to make it look like there's a debris shooting out before the hole collapses down. And yeah, this is the shot. Once again, thank you to ActionVFX for hooking me up with this amazing stock footage. Check them out. They are having a Black Friday sale. And just the link is in the description, of course. Just check out ActionVFX. They are super duper amazing. And also thank you for watching this tutorial and see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.